which instruments do you play? Which genres do you do the most? And how many different musical groups are you in?
Okay, so that's so funny. Okay, so different instruments. I sing if you consider that an instrument, because the vocal. And then I play guitar, acoustic guitar specifically. I do know how to play bass. I play piano, which is piano and singing is like my main instruments. Um, I can fangle with the drums a little bit, but not as technical. I do want to learn for sure. And then another thing is, and this is a long time ago, but I do still kind of know how to play tuba. It's kind of
Mm,
ingrained in with me, like still how to like hit the note. Like it's in my fingertips that I'm like, oh yeah, this is C. I know that, or things like that. So yeah.
excellent. And then what's did you like grow up in bands? Like what kind of
Yeah.
genres? Like what do you do the most?
Okay, so I did grow up. Well, I grew up more singing because like my whole family are like a bunch of singers. I feel like that's Filipinos in general. We're all singers. And then I was forced to learn to play like classical music as a kid. And yeah, so gosh, what do I play? That's so funny because right now what I am currently playing a lot of is like musical type of songs. It's very simple, not simple, but yeah, it's like musicals is what I feel like I'm playing like the most. Like if you think of any kind of musical, it's that type of genre. But my favorite things a lot of times to play is like R&B kind of songs. Yeah, it's a different mix. But yes, right now, what I'm actually trying to learn, and this is going to help me to grow as specifically as a piano player, is learning to just do a bunch of different cover songs on piano. Like learning to like, okay, um, any song that I can think of, old to new, if you can like just learn to play that, then you start to understand the structure within there, right? Like what chord progression and patterns happening in there, and you start to understand and see that. And then as you learn that, you can easily start using and putting those into, for specifically for me, for my type, like improv shows. So like if I'm in a musical and I want to like add something else, a different type of genre, and I understand the chord progression, then I'm like, okay, I can use this. And so like people who like play in piano bars, like have like 200 to 500 songs, maybe even more actually, songs in their repertoire that they know. And that's mainly because it's like repetitive chord progressions that happen. Yeah. They just figure out, okay, what's the scale? Or like what scale are we in, and then okay, I'll add,
Mhm.
and then I know what the chord
Yeah.
progression
You
normally
kind of
is.
hit that muscle memory where you remember some part of the song and you can just kind of go into it.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that's the definitely the goal. So I'm trying to spread myself a little bit more because where I got most of my piano stuff was playing Christian music. Is where I played at a
Yep.
church,
I
which
played in church for a number of
I
years
feel
on
like
drums, so I'm right there
the
with you.
greatest musicians are people who come out of the church, which is so crazy to me. But
Yeah.
you learn so much, and that's like also a thing where I was like instinct. You learned instinct there
Hmm.
because you would follow like what the pastor wanted or what the worship leader wanted, like you would
Hmm.
feel it. It's really a feeling at the end of the day of like, okay, this is where we're going, or we're building up or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And when I was doing church stuff, I was a teenager, and everybody else in the group was in their 30s to their 50s. And a few of them had played professionally in rock and blues bands. So they were always
uh
bringing rock and blues into what we
into
were
the
doing. And then there was me just like figuring stuff out as I go. And then I get older and realize, like, wow, that was amazing that I was playing some of that music from the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, and I wasn't even like aware that that's what was happening at the time. And I can
Yeah,
look
I
back and be
love
like,
it.
that was so great that I was able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and now it
Yeah.
translates into
Mhm.
now, which is
Yep.
so amazing.
Yep. Yep. So two of the groups that you're in that I'm totally aware of. One was Edgewood Avenue,
Yes.
puppets, music.
Yes.
You're a performer, and often seen you doing MC stuff as well. And then I've
Yeah.
also filmed you even doing Measure Island stuff, which is
Yes.
improv, musical improv. And I've seen you perform and sing, and I've seen you play the piano. So I think do you and JT go back and forth depending on the
hmm
show? Okay.
Yeah, depending on the show, we are learning how to like it would be interesting within or the middle of the show, figuring out how we can use the tool of the both of us to be able to like flip. So like an example is like we could be like brothers and stuff, and you only see like one of the brothers in the first act, and then it switches, and you'll see the other brother in second act, or what, you know. It would be interesting, especially if like the piano is on stage. It makes it easier in that. But I think of like, for instance, where you recorded this at red light, that would be a lot harder for us to like rotate around, kind of, I don't know, it would be interesting. So playing with that idea, because I don't know many improvised team musical teams that have two accompanists at the same time, which is kind of rare. I think accompanists in general are rare, but having two in your team is even more.
Yeah. Are you in any other groups, or are those the two main ones for right now?
I do consider myself part of Road Trip. So whenever so Road Trip is Madeline's group.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and she mainly plays at Dad's. I think they're gonna start having like a reoccurring set there. But I am part of that because she always asks me to like play piano specifically for that. So whenever I make myself available like consistently. So whenever she wants that, so I love that. It's not necessarily musical per se. It's kind of like um, yeah, I just like add to it. And then I always tell the people there, I'm like, hey, if you want to do a musical or kind of music and sing, I will follow you along. Like, don't worry, I have your back the whole time, kind of vibe. But yeah, those are my three main focuses, because I think I can spread myself out thin. But I will say I'm a musician at Dad's Garage. So whenever they need me playing there, Blackgrounds is another. This is a new improv, well, I don't even know if it's new, but they've been doing it, I think, for a little bit of time, and have recently started coming back to Dad's Garage. Yeah, I just try to focus on that because I feel like if I go anymore, I'll like spread myself out too thin. I
Hmm.
have my main focuses.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't spread yourself out too thin because you'll get burned
Yes.
out. And you do
Yes.
wonderful work, so don't get burned out. All
Yeah.
right. All right. You brought this up just a little bit earlier when you were talking about terminology. Beyond your physical instrument, whether it's a keyboard or a guitar, whatever it is, what kind of like tools and gear and software do you use the most when you go out to do a
Mm,
performance?
gosh, that's the hard. Okay, so there's really only one tool that I specifically use because my piano is like the main instrument that I use, and within there, if you have a good piano, you can adjust and change it, so you don't necessarily need an outside software like necessarily. I can tell you when it comes to DJ equipment what you want, but there's this thing that I use that it's not necessarily, it kind of is a cheat. I don't know what people think, whatever. But it's this thing called Autochord that I use. I don't know if you can literally see it, but it will show the different chord progressions, and
Hmm.
you can choose different like how you want it to feel. So like going back, so if something feels like I'm doing a scene or like I'm watching a scene and it feels eerie and just like, ooh, something like evil is lurking. There is literally a thing in here called eerie, and it will give me a
Hmm.
four chord progression that gives an eerie feel to it.
Hmm.
And so I
Is
will
there
use
like,
that as
not to interrupt you, is there like a website to this?
oh, it's just
Or
an
is it
app.
is it just an app?
It's
It's just
just
an
an app.
app?
It's
Okay.
called
All right.
Autochord, and
All right.
maybe there is a website. I wouldn't be surprised though,
Okay.
because they're
All right.
always people are always finding out like what is the chord progressions that I can use. So
Yeah.
I use this in a way to give me like just a basis of like, okay, these are
Mhm.
the four chords I could use,
Like a
but
starting
then
point.
it's a starting point,
Yeah.
and at the
Mhm.
end of the day, I'm like, okay, I hit those. You'll find me in a lot of times hitting those four chords quietly and figuring out within me. I'm like, oh, okay, that's the feeling that I'm getting, and then I'll start playing around. It's almost like once again following the path of like, okay, I do like those four chords. How can I keep following that? Maybe I'll add a sixth or a fifth or things like that in there to make it sound more. And it's just a starting point, a basic point. Yeah. But in terms of anything else, not really. I mean, voc vocally, I mean, I love listen like having like playlists that are like vocal warm up playlists that I have that I like will listen to, and that's something that I use. It's also where I pull from because when it comes to like musical improv, I'm specifically like, making sure that the vocals for everybody's warmed up. And so we will pull from those kinds of things to keep it interesting, to focus on things that we notice that as a musician notice like, oh, okay, we have a harder time hitting those sounds because obviously we're not like professionals in that sense of like we want everyone to sound like amazing opera singer, but
Mhm.
we want it to still sound fairly good
Mhm. Mhm.
because people like that once they hear like harmonies and melodies and all of that within that they're like amazed by that on top of like how do you do improv at the same time. But yes, so that is something else. Other softwares and stuff, not nothing really as a piano player, not
Mhm.
as much
Yeah. Yeah.
because it is found within the instrument.
How long have you been using that app? Like, is that something that's new to you that you've done recently, or have you been using it for a while?
That is maybe like a year. No, wait, no, that's not true. Like 6 months, four
Six
to six
months.
months.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay.
I've
If
been using it. It's been helpful in many
Mhm.
ways, but also like I will find that sometimes I have to like let it go and being like because it only has a finite number of combinations and it only gives you four chord combinations. So not it's gonna everything's gonna sound the same if you're always hitting four chords, even if you're switching up. So like learning to jump between that, and it's not even giving you like 4/4, or like are we in like what type of meter are we in? It's not giving you that either. Is this like a waltz? So it's like it doesn't give you much, but at least it gives you a basics. And I'm like learning to like, okay, sometimes I gotta like step away from there because it can restrict you if you're too stuck in like, oh no, these four chords aren't working, kind of thing. But it's a great way to start.
I like to talk a lot about like emerging technology. So, kind of based on
Mm,
what you were just saying, is there any other apps out there that you've heard of that you kind of want to jump on? Or is there any part of that app that you were like, oh, I really wish they would change this? And that would be like the next
mm.
change, and that would really help me.
Okay, well, there is this other app that I've seen that I haven't played around with. I can't remember the specific name of it, but it's within that realm of the autochords. But within there, you can actually, it uses AI to create the chord progressions for you in that sense. So it doesn't stick to just four chords and create chord progressions. And then from there, if there's something that I really, really like, I can go back and save that as a specific like that's my favorite chord progression, and then you can adjust and change it to even have it so it's like if you're gonna add like this is like a piano term, but if you're gonna add like a fifth to it or a seventh to it to a note or a chord, then you can actually save that in there. I just think it's cool that that AI can actually that is an interesting thing to know that like AI can actually create chord progressions for you.
Well, music is math, and
It
computers
is.
like math, so it certainly makes sense to me. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm a little back and forth as far as the AI stuff. Well, first of all, I am annoyed. We don't need to go on a tangent right now. I'm annoyed by everyone calling it AI because it's not AI. It's not artificial intelligence.
Mm,
It's just generative software. That's all it is. But that's a
yeah.
tangent we don't need to
It's a
go into
power.
right now.
It's just powerful generative software that can pull so
And
much.
and
Yeah.
so
Mm,
part of me is excited between that and like Midjourney and some of the other like more arty stuff and music and text stuff, writing copy and Chat GPT and that sort of thing. Part of me is like I like it in the fact that it can kind of help you move forward a little bit in some of these, like or if you just have a starting
mm,
point or if you need something summarized, I like that. And I'm not fully on the bandwagon of, oh no, all artists are going to be irrelevant because you have to put information in to get information out. Like
right.
it doesn't just create stuff out of scratch.
No.
So
And
I
also,
like
it's
it.
so soulless.
Yeah.
Soulless in many
Mhm.
ways. Even
Yeah.
if you like create something and like, it just doesn't sound the same. It's missing something within there, and that really is like I think what you were basically getting at is that it's not AI, because it's like it's just putting out like this is a basic structure. Because
Yeah.
even if I used the app that I mentioned, at the end of the day, I'm the one still hitting the notes, and I'm not like I have to choose which. Because even within there, I have to choose which. What do they call that? Because like I can play a C a certain way and I can play a C in so many different ways. I get to choose which notes I want to play on that, to get that feeling, and then that's what people connect to. I just don't think that it's going to completely remove or take out artists, because that's I don't know. That's just impossible at the end of
Yeah,
the day.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I like it in the sense of like, you can dump in a couple paragraphs of text and be like, give me four different titles for this for a social media post, and I'll go through those four and I'll choose the one I want. Like that's sort of just like kind of busy work that you don't necessarily need to do. But like for the bigger stuff, like you still need a human who's there, who's looking at it,
Yes.
who's proofreading it. Like it's just a very small tool to kind of help you save a little bit of time in your
Yep.
progress. What I
Mm.
want is for AI to start doing our laundry and vacuuming the
Yes.
floor, which
That
which
would be
little
amazing.
computers already
Things
run
that we
around,
don't need to do.
little Roombas and stuff already vacuuming the floor. I want them to be doing that, or like analyze the city and figure out traffic routes. So good ways of getting more cars off the road, lowering traffic levels, that sort of thing. That's what I want
Yeah.
AI to be doing. It doesn't need to be
Right.
doing more than it's already doing now. All right.
Agreed. Agreed.
All right, that was a little bit of a tangent. Question for you: skills. Which part of, let's say, being a musician do you have to practice the most to get good at?
Honestly, I would. Part of me is like just practicing alone and being consistent is the only thing that you need to do to just get good at, because people will give up so quickly because they don't think that they're good as a musician because how they started. And if they just kept going, which is so simple, it's like just life. Like we as humans are so funny that we don't want to be consistent, or we want to be so good, or we want control, and we just like don't want to be consistent. But like for instance, if you as a improv musician, if you want to get good at it, then like just keep practicing different songs, keep practicing different things, like theater. Get in tune with your own self and your own gut, like what you like to do. Like find things that light you up, so it's like it like goes beyond just, and also like take breaks, because you'll find that like having breaks in between as a musician helps, because sometimes you can get so burnt out by trying, like doing over and over and over again. It's almost like when people have writer's block, like step away for a second. But honestly, being just consistent as a musician and just keep on practicing, like practice, learn from other people's music at the end of the day, because people have written beautiful, amazing music, and they've put in a lot of effort and time into that. So like learn it and understand it and what's happening, um, can be a really great way of becoming a better musician. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm,
I say that's like such a hard question because a musician is so well rounded. Like, what is a
mhm,
musician? What is,
mhm.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can tell you one thing that I never did practice a lot that I could have
What?
gotten better at, especially as a drummer, was really just being much more confident with chords because I knew what
Mm,
they were because especially even during warm-ups jump on the marimba or xylophone or whatever and you're doing scales with the band, but then when it's
yeah.
time to sit down and really do something my brain is going, is it B flat, is it B, I forget which key are we in, like for me,
Yeah.
like if I had really, really focused more on, and especially if you're doing, jazz or improv or something like that, you have to know the chords and the different
Right.
varieties within the chords like so, so well in
Yeah.
your head that
Honestly,
as a
scales for sure.
mhm,
Scale, like
as
learn your scales.
boring as it may seem,
Ugh,
like
and memorize them, like know them. And then, you know what? On top of that, just don't even know, like this is such a basic thing, but like don't even just know like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Like know like numbers, because that's what's going to actually help you at the end of the day. So when I say numbers, it's like if people will say like, oh, it's a 1 4 3 pattern, you're thinking in a scale, so 1 4 3, so I'm thinking one is C, F, and then E is 3. So if I did that, I can move that into any other scale. So like one, learn your scales, because then you can learn your numbers and then you can apply those numbers. Because at the end of the day, it's just like you said, it's numbers, it's math. So what is the pattern that is happening within music? And if you can understand the same pattern and you know your scales, you can apply that wherever you need to go. And also scales are so complicated. I was looking at it and I was like, there's so many like diatomic scale. like so like so many different scales. I'm like, why is it so complicated? But yeah, it's so funny. But yeah, if you can learn those and then learn your numbers, you're like really set a lot for a lot of things. And then obviously, the normal things of like learning like rhythm, learning to like trust yourself and play and move around within the piano, try different things here and there. But get that basic knowledge down, because once you can get the two brain split I was talking about, when you can get the knowledge down for playing piano or learning your scale as a musician, then you're going to be able to like move freely. It's like improv. Like for improv, they're always like, learn the rules that are here, and that way you can eventually break the rules is what happens, but you can always come back to the rules at the end of the day.